With the first pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears trade it to the Denver Broncos. And the Denver Broncos select Caleb Williams. What are the odds of that happening? We are going to break it down on the DNVR Broncos podcast today, where I'm joined by Super Bowl 50 champ Todd Davis. I'm joined by Henry Chisholm and Zach Stevens. Henry, I was thinking I might need to start introducing you.
You're joined by Zach Stevens.
Joined by Zach Stevens, exactly. I may need to start introducing you as Super Bowl 50 champ Todd Davis. What was the exact quote? All I did was lose this weekend.
Dang, that was everywhere.
Yeah.
Thank goodness the Bucs won last night.
Losing everywhere.
I will say, so the Bucs won last night, which means obviously still a terrible betting weekend, but the Nuggets play the Sixers tonight, and so I put all my Bucs winnings onto that game. So if that hits, if the Nuggets win tonight, actually it's like definitely not like a great betting weekend, but it's not that bad. The problem is last night the Nuggets were plus 150. This morning, it's like, no, everybody's playing. They're plus 100. So I missed out on like a third of what my winnings would have been, but
Dang.
is
well,
what it is.
I'm pulling for you because I'm pulling for the Nuggets. So I hope that you get your winnings back. But, Todd, I wouldn't have done this if Henry wouldn't have started getting on his high horse a little bit. But I just have to remind him that all he does is lose.
Wow.
There were 6 playoff games this past weekend. We picked all of them straight up, not even against the spread. We picked them all straight up on this show. None of us did great. I think I think I went 4-2. You might have gone 4-2 as well. No, I think here hurt you, so you went 3-3. You know what Henry went?
1-5.
You're too nice. All he does is lose. Let me tell you that. 0-6.
Really?
Dang.
On our picks. This.
I thought so too.
Maybe you got one. Let's pull it up. Do you have the graphic? Maybe you were right, Tom. Maybe it was
You took
one.
the Lions? He took the Lions.
Yeah, I had the Lions. I definitely had the Lions. Yeah.
Congratulations. 1-5. I'm sorry.
Oh, I did have the Eagles,
So
didn't I?
not
Damn.
all you do is lose. But yeah, you had the Eagles here. You're trying to get on your high horse saying like, oh, I had the Bucs last night. Maybe your money did, but not on this.
Oh, okay.
Tough
Dang.
weekend there.
Yeah, that is
Todd,
what it
you
is.
would have been 4-2 with me as well, but
Yeah.
those
I
Browns.
tried to roll with it, man. I should have just stuck to my guns. And
I want to be fair. I asked Todd, do you want to change it? He's like, no.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, let's rock. Let's see what's happening. But
For the national championship game in college a couple of weeks ago, this is the first time this has ever happened to me, but I meant to I did a live bet, and I meant to hit the over, and I hit the under, but I didn't realize it until the bet showed me it was placed, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And so I was like, you know what? This is a win-win. If the over hits, I can say I was right and I literally just hit the wrong button. Or if I'm wrong, then I'm right and I make money. And I was wrong, so I made money, and I was happy that happened.
sometimes it works out. It didn't work out for me this weekend, but sometimes it does.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a win-win if you lose.
Well, I could also spin it as like a lose-lose. But I wanted to spin it in my mind as a win-win.
Okay. I guess that works.
I'm a Russell Wilson sort of approach. Glass half full
Always
all the time.
optimistic.
Yep, always optimistic. How optimistic are you guys on Caleb Williams? Because yesterday, Caleb Williams officially declared for the NFL draft. I guess maybe not officially because he hasn't hired an agent still. And I think it's once you hire an agent is when you can't go back to college. Is that right?
I'm not sure.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
He hasn't hired
Does
an
he
agent.
need one?
That also might be something. You don't have to have one.
Yeah, I don't know if he needs one. Lamar is doing
Yep.
some pretty good deals without one.
Yeah.
I think if I had to go back and do it again, I love my agent. You know what? I'm not even gonna go down that path because I love my agent so much. But guys are figuring out now that, we talked about how, the NFL is really slotted.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to get in where you fit in.
Yep.
And because of that, I think guys are now just hiring lawyers
Yeah.
to go over the contract.
Right.
And instead of paying 3% of $200 million,
Yeah.
I could pay you maybe 50 to 100,000 to look
Right.
over this contract one time, make sure everything is good, and it kind of gets the same result because I'm slotted where
Right.
my performance is anyway.
Right. Now, would you say that for yourself and other undrafted guys, then agents do become more important, or no?
You know, not really. I think at times because they can get you more doors opened. It's like maybe yes, because if I'm an undrafted free agent, you know, my agent can make a call to a GM they know on such and such team that can get me a workout and that ends up becoming something. But I think those second contract negotiations are always slotted because I forget who the linebacker was my year. For a lot of teams, I was like a 2-down linebacker.
Okay.
And so the highest paid 2-down linebacker is the same contract I got, essentially.
Yeah.
So I was slotted right where, you know, the NFL saw me and my performance was.
Now, isn't the tricky thing, which we talked about a little bit last week, is then you would have to be doing the negotiations with the team, and that might be a little hurtful for
Then
both
that's
sides?
Yes, that's always a problem.
But I guess to save, you know, however much money that is, maybe you do take that.
Yeah, I think especially if you're a high enough or an all-pro player or a player like Lamar Jackson, like it can only get so crazy because you can't pay me less than Sam Howell. Like,
Right.
we
Yeah.
can't do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I have to fit in there somewhere between Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts and all those guys. Like I got to be in that mix to make it make sense.
By the way, Lamar, during his whole offseason last year, he was getting crushed for not having an agent.
Yep.
People were taking cheap shots left and right and him saying the reason why you're not getting a big contract is because you don't have an agent. And I think his mom was helping him through some of that. And people were taking cheap shots. Worked out for him in the end. And he saves, what is that, couple $1 million? $6 to
Easily.
$8 million?
Easily.
Yeah.
And those momagers they're real, man. Like there's a reason why every child star in Hollywood has a mom as their manager.
Yeah.
Like your mom will go to bat for you harder
Yep.
than any agent ever could.
It's so true.
So-
And that's what you need in those situations.
Exactly.
So maybe we know Caleb Williams has a good relationship with his mom.
Yep.
Maybe that's the route he's going to roll.
Maybe so. I wouldn't knock it.
No. And did you guys see who Caleb Williams is working out with right now?
Oh yeah.
Todd, one of your former coaches,
Yep.
Rich Scangarello,
He is.
is so Rich was most recently, was it with Kentucky or
Yeah.
was he with the team this past year?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
He was Kentucky.
So Rich Scangarello is who Caleb Williams is working out with to prepare for the draft. He officially declared yesterday. What do you guys view Caleb Williams as a potential draft pick right now?
Like his order?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Just
he's
how
number
do you
one.
view him? Without a doubt.
I think without a doubt. I think he's been highly touted after winning the Heisman. He was projected number one the entire year and didn't have an awesome year, but I don't think he did anything that would take him out of the number one spot.
Yeah. So did that change for you?
What?
Because in our quarterback rankings, you wanted to argue Michael Penix.
No, I'm just saying the national narrative.
Oh, okay. Fair.
My,
Yeah.
personal opinion is still Penix won, but I think the national narrative around Caleb is very similar to how it started the year after his Heisman year.
For you, is Caleb 2?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
So you still are a fan of him.
I do. I
Big
think
fan.
he's still a
Yeah.
good player. Yeah.
Totally
yeah.
fair.
I've been kind of like, you watch the games and you know that Lincoln Riley runs like a bunch of RPOs and that sort of stuff. But then you go back and watch the cut up and you just watch every throw and it's like, well, half of what he does is just like some little bubble screen or like quick slant off an RPO. Like I think this always happens when you go back and watch a quarterback is you just kind of get disillusioned. But like going back through the Notre Dame game last night, it's like he didn't really. There was nothing in there where I'm like, wow. I mean, there's a couple times like he gets out of the pocket, like or like a guy will he'll just like step back real quick and just bang, he flies right by. So you still see like some of those traits and like the way the ball comes out of his hand, but I don't know.
Was
Well,
that
a
Notre
year
Dame
ago?
game his worst game?
I don't know numbers
Okay.
wise,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean,
Because that
it's-
was a bad one.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it was just kind of disappointing. Even like there's other mistakes in there too. Like it's not like he's avoiding all of the. Like he does crazy things, but he turns the ball over. Like he does turn the ball over. Like he'll throw some kind of dumb passes, and he gets away with it more often than not, and that's why you get so excited. But I don't know. I think a year ago I would have said yes. He's far and away number one quarterback. Like if you can get him, you got to do whatever it takes. Like he's going to be one of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in the league. But he did take a step back this year, and I don't have like doubts about him, but I do have maybe doubts about him being like the MVP of the NFL someday.
Mm-hmm.
So where would you put him?
Like in terms of this class?
How do you view him? Yeah.
Like he's still number one.
Okay.
He's still number one.
But the national narrative a year ago, and I think even 6 months ago, was like consensus Patrick Mahomes 2.0. And it was like no one was pushing back against that. Once that comparison got out there, everyone was just like, yep, that's who he is. Teams are going to tank.
Yeah.
Sean Payton said on Fox Sports before he took the Broncos job, teams are going to intentionally tank for this kid. He is so good. And that's a coach who's been in the NFL for 15 years as a head coach. He knows how teams operate. And if he says that, that shows you how he was viewed. I think over the past couple of months this season, he took a step back from that. And people, I think you're right, Todd, people still, in both of you are right, he's still viewed as the number one quarterback. But I think the Patrick Mahomes 2.0, like no one's pushing back on that, has kind of taken a step back. But I think from here on out, it's only going to build up closer to that. I think that he is only going to build more momentum. And honestly, to me, the biggest concern I have is the mentals with him. Not the football mentals in terms of like football IQ, but just some weird off the field stuff. Not anything that I point to and I'm like, man, that's going to make him fail. But just interesting things that we've talked about before. Leadership, how he's viewed. And we're already starting to see that narrative kind of turn. Many reports coming out the past few weeks of support from his teammates at UNC, coaches saying how great he is, how loved he is. Things that we didn't really hear when he was on the team.
Exactly.
But now it's being pushed out, and I think people are going to take that and run with it because you know what people want to hear? Whether it's teams, whether it's fans, whether it's media, they want to build a guy up to be the next Patrick Mahomes 2.0, whether it's just for advertisement sales or whether it's just to build hype going into next season. They want that. So he's going to pick up steam. We heard our guy Baldy kind of drop a hint last time we talked to him about he knows Caleb and he knows what he's made of. What I'm going to ask Baldy that when we have him on next, hopefully sometime this week, of just what exactly that is. So I think that those mental issues are going to be put to the side, or mental questions are going to be kind of put to the side. And when you look at the physical talent, it's there. I mean, you see him do ridiculous things in the pocket. The arm strength's there. The angles that people like to see are there. He's got enough leg talent as well. So I think that once we get to the draft, Patrick Mahomes 2.0, that's what people are going to be saying again.
Without a doubt. I think the mental aspect of, his off the field won't come up again until he's in the league and something bad happens. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but, just throughout his time in the league, whether it's like he has a bad game or he just doesn't live up to the hype within the first 3 games, I think that's when it'll come up. Because from now into the draft, he's going to look amazing. He's going to be running one-on-ones, no defenders. The arm talent is there. He's going to be able to use his legs, get out of the pocket. It's going to look clean. He's working out with Rich. He's going to be more prepared. Like, it's going to look awesome leading up to the draft. So there's no reason why people won't compare him to Patrick Mahomes all the way up until then. I think any doubts in people's minds outside of his ability will be wiped away just because of how talented he's going to look up until the draft.
To me, it's the size that's the big concern. Like, it just there's so many balls that get tipped. Like, there's so many balls that just go the other way. And, like, it happens to any quarterback, but when you go back and watch, again, like, you just see that, and you're like, a 6'1" quarterback is not ideal. I know that you're kind of like, you found like the outliers now at this point, but I do think that like when you watch him, he looks like Mahomes. Like he does all those things, like he does the exact same things. Like there's a reason he gets a comparison. It's because if you were to put the two side by side, like it's remarkably similar. But you still do see like from the pocket, he does kind of like dip into gaps a little bit to like get balls off, and that's the thing to me that concerns me. Like the off field stuff, like I'm not. If it comes up, it comes up, but I'm not too worried about that right now. To me, it's just that height that gets me.
Really? 6'1". I want to dive into that after I tell you about Bet365, where you'll be able to bet on the draft over at Bet365. I'm sure Caleb Williams already is like, what would you guess, minus 1,000 to be the number 1 overall pick. There's no value there, but They're going to be putting Broncos picks up soon. You're going to be able to bet on what the Broncos do, trade up. If they grab Bo Nix at number 12 or Michael Penix Jr., they trade up. You're going to be able to do that over at Bet365, where they are all about the unordinary. Their slogan, never ordinary, because they've got every single bet you could want out there. And with the Nuggets playing the Sixers tonight, I know yesterday they were +3, so now it's even pretty much, Hank?
I would guess. I only bet money lines.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
So +100, you want to get in on that. Embiid might not play, right?
I don't know.
So you probably want to hit that 100 before it's ruled that he is not playing because he's scared of Jokic. So check out our friends over at Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 where you're going to be able to choose one of two offers when you sign up. Either place a $5 bet and get $150 in bonus bets, or they're going to give you a first bet safety net offer up to $2,000. If your bet doesn't hit, they're going to give you that amount back in bonus bets. So check them out, whether it's NBA, NHL, college football, NFL, anything, NFL playoffs specifically, you can get in on it. So use that code DNVR365 over at Bet365. You must be 21 and older, physically located in Colorado. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And shout out to our friends over at Red Hawk Roofing. You know they're the best roofers in Denver, and they are huge supporters of the DNVR family. They use quality materials. They have decades of experience. They have a quick response time. Great thing about Red Hawk Roofing is they have a free, no obligation roof and property inspection. And that's really key to understand where your roof sits. If you need a new roof, if you don't, they'll come and let you know, and it's totally free. They also have free in-depth photo reports for all inspections. Winter's coming, so don't wait to take care of any issues before the big storm hits. And one last thing, it's a really cool giveaway that they're doing. They're giving away their company's 2 tickets to the Nuggets vs. Sixers game on the 27th of January. You got to be at the watch party here at the DNVR to be eligible. It's on the 25th. They will be raising money to match support for the Volo Kids Foundation. It's a good cause, good people. Make sure you're out at the DNVR bar on the 25th to win. So make sure you check them out and come check us out in order to win some tickets. And I bet they're good seats. You know what I'm saying? Red Hot Roofing does the roof right. I bet they do the games right. And you don't want to miss out on these 2 good tickets.
Todd, you played in the NFL. You know how important size is or isn't. Should 6'1", I think he's listed. Hey,
You did it.
okay, height. You know how important
There we
height
go.
is in the NFL. I won't say length. I'll say height is in the NFL. Is 6'1"? He's listed as 6'1", 218. Is that something to be worried about for a quarterback?
Not in particular. Not for me anymore. I think, quarterbacks are finding ways around being, not 6'3" or 6'4" to be able to get the ball to their receivers. For me personally, it's not a problem. Played against smaller quarterbacks, played with smaller quarterbacks. I've never felt like it really limited them. Yes, you get tip balls at the line of scrimmage, but it's not happening every play. So I think 9 times out of 10, they're able to find the receiver. Now, whether they made a good pass or not, that's on them, but I think they're able to find the open receiver.
So the closest comp in terms of height and weight is Lamar Jackson, actually. Now, not
Really?
obviously the exact. Lamar's listed at 6'2", 215. So 1 inch taller, but similar size. I actually can't find any quarterbacks.
Is he really 215 pounds?
That's what
There's
it says.
no
Yeah,
way
that's what
Lamar
it.
is.
And we know that once you get in the NFL, combine is pretty accurate with your sizing because it's supposed to be independent and stuff. And I do trust the combine, but yeah, now it says NFL lists him at 6'2", 215.
Yeah, he was
Dang.
6'2", 208 at the combine. Oh, that's cornerback Lamar Jackson. My bad.
Wow, you got
Damn
you mean
it.
former Bronco?
I know.
Lamar
I
Jackson.
I could swear Lamar's 6'3", but I guess not. And that's the other
No,
thing
I
with
don't think
Caleb,
he's
though.
6'3".
If he's listed 6'1", then he's gonna be 6 5/8 or something at the combine.
Well, if we want to say that about him, then you probably say that about other quarterbacks too, though.
So
Yeah.
you got to bring everybody
Yeah,
down.
so
Just
gotta
go.
bring
Always use a
everybody down.
combine. Always use a combine.
But we don't have that yet, so I'm just going
Yeah,
off
exactly, yeah.
what's out there. But I do see what you're saying. I would have never questioned 6'1". The questions with Kyler and is he actually 5'8" or is he 5'10"? I get those questions. And Russ, we've seen Russ, Drew Brees, who was listed at 6 foot as well. I wouldn't be concerned about 6'1". The other comp of someone who's 6'1", now I think he's built a lot differently, but is 6'1", is Jalen Hurts. So I'm personally not concerned about that, but it's interesting to hear that you are concerned.
As a number 1 pick, though, that's
Kyler?
as somebody who's supposed to be a generational quarterback, you would think he'd have all of the traits, but
So-
there's just some of that stuff that's missing.
But if Drew Brees is a Hall of Famer, but he wasn't the number 1 overall pick, is that a?
It's possible.
Draft him one.
No, no,
You
no.
know,
Like
could you
it's-
have drafted Drew Brees number 1 in his class? Absolutely.
In hindsight, yeah.
In
but
hindsight, so just because Caleb is number 1, I don't think it means that it's a problem if he's only 6'1".
I definitely like. My thing isn't that like it means he's undraftable or anything. It's just that he isn't a perfect prospect. You know, like there are flaws. Like if he was 6'3", if he was 6'4", 6'5", ideally, then he'd be like, I'd be like, yes, trading up for number 1, give up all your first. But there's just these little things with him where you're just. You see a lot of those guys who are really good college quarterbacks who don't make it in the NFL, and he does like. There are some like Baker Mayfield-y vibes in some of the things that he does.
Hey, nah,
It's not
Baker
just only
let his team
definitely,
to a win last
definitely,
night.
definitely.
You know,
And so, would you trade 3 firsts to go get Baker though? That's the thing.
He's winning
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
I mean, he
No,
did
I
go
wouldn't.
number 1 overall.
He did.
And so I guess to move this conversation, do we all think he's going number 1 overall?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. Despite being short, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's
No, I'm just
Baker
kidding.
did, Kyler did. Like,
So then, if he's going number 1
6'2" and a
overall,
quarter, okay.
is this something that the Broncos should explore moving up for? Because it is not going to be cheap. But if he is this potentially generational quarterback, I personally view this quarterback class as very strong. And I do think he's the number 1 quarterback in this draft, so if you want to say generational, if you want to say he's, the likes of Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, who else was in it? Trevor Lawrence, if he's in that class. But even if he's not, he's probably still a damn good prospect. Should the Broncos consider trading up to number 1 to get him? Especially because we know that the Bears might be willing to move that pick.
I think 2 things is going to cost us too much, and I don't know if we need it for our offense to be successful. Drew Brees is a phenomenal quarterback, but I think he was made better under Sean's leadership.
Yeah.
So I think there are a couple quarterbacks in this draft that we could really use, and Sean can get the best out of them. That won't cost the same as Caleb Williams, even though he's going to be a great player. I just don't think that. I think it'll take too long for us to recruit the investment and then also bring in talent to assist him to be great. So we'll have a great player with a limited roster and a limited salary cap, just kind of sitting here waiting for his time.
So you just think it's going to cost too much, not even worth really exploring?
I think it's going to cost too much, and I think there are other players in this draft who aren't supposed to be as good as Caleb, but
Okay.
can be very good when it all comes down to it.
I
Yeah.
totally see what you're saying. Henry?
yeah, it's not worth it. Like we've talked about it a little bit, but you just don't have enough talent on the roster already. Like I was going through the second round pick, so there's like no first round picks on the roster. There's barely any second round picks on the roster too.
First-round picks.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
basically no there aren't very many compared to the rest of the league. Like there's 2 teams with less, I think. But second round picks is the same. Like there is no talent on the roster, and so the idea that you're just gonna trade a whole bunch of first round picks to go get a quarterback and put him in this, and then you get in the whole 2 quarterbacks ever have won a Super Bowl making 12.5% of the team's cap. And it's Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. So if you're going to win on a second contract with a quarterback at this point, because every quarterback's contract is so inflated, you need to be expecting him to be Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. And that's just unreasonable, and I'm not willing to make that bet, especially because what if he just isn't all that good and people want to move on in 2 years and you still haven't even like gotten out of like not having a first round pick because you trade your first 3? Like there's just no reason to do it.
You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy for not
No.
even exploring the opportunity. And I'm not. Obviously, it's going to cost a lot to
Yeah.
move up to get him. But for the opportunity, you're right. He needs to be elite. But he's the best opportunity to be elite in a couple of years. And if you have that opportunity to go up and get him, how do you not explore it? And you're starting with number 12 overall and 2 future first-round picks. So you're starting there. So I'm not trying to lowball what it would take to get him. But if that's the deal, I'm doing it in a heartbeat. And it does stink taking away 2 future first-round picks. But you know what a first-round pick hits at? Like 50%. And that's like the average. So let's say he hits and next year, not this year, but 2025, he has that Mahomes leap and he's in the MVP conversation his second year in the league. Well, that third first-round pick that you gave up, which is going to be the following year, is going to be like pick 31. So the chances of hitting on that are probably even less than that. And especially when you have Sean Payton. If Sean, and this is what the whole thing boils down to. If Sean identifies him as his guy and he says, that's the next Patrick Mahomes, because he apparently identified Mahomes as being Mahomes before the draft and said the Saints are going to draft him. That's what he says after the fact, which is easy to say now. But if he does that with Caleb Williams, you do what you need to do to get him. And if that's 3 first-round picks and the Bears come back and say no, throw in 2 second-round picks, you negotiate, try to get it to a second and a third or something like that. But you do whatever you need to do in order to get Sean his quarterback, because you brought Sean Payton in to make this offense dominant. And he tried it with Russell Wilson for 16 games and said no. Don't go and give him option 4 to try to make this offense competent. Go out and give him everything he needs to give him his guy. And again, he has to identify him as like the next Patrick Mahomes, or at least the next Drew Brees, or the true number 1 guy. And if Sean says, I need him, if I'm Greg Penner and Sean says, I want to trade all this stuff away because he is this good and I'm going to make him this good, you're gambling on Sean anyways, so you might as well give him your guy. Give him his guy.
I totally understand the logic, but I just feel like there are so many other pieces to a championship roster that we need. I think you look at the Rams when they made the Super Bowl run, they went and got every big name that was available from Odell Beckham. They had Cooper Kupp. They went and got Vaughn. They had Aaron Donald. Like, you need a roster. Matthew Stafford, a phenomenal quarterback, had issues with, protecting ball, but could really throw the ball. You know what I'm saying? Was exactly what that team needed, but they also needed every single other piece that they have. Even Josh Allen, he's been struggling to do it and had Stephon Diggs and had Knox and had Singletary that was a good running back and had a good offensive line and still was struggling to even still hasn't even been to a Super Bowl. Still loses in the AFC Championship every year. I think we need pieces more than just a quarterback.
And the Bears aren't going to negotiate with the Broncos. That's the other thing. Is like the Broncos can call and say like, hey, what do we need to do? And they'll say, yeah, get back to us in April after we've talked to the Commanders with the number 2 pick and the Patriots, see what they offer, and then to get the Bears to accept the number 12 pick. Like, that's the thing though, is every single team in between there can match. Like, you got the Vikings at 11. If the Broncos are like, we'll give you 3 firsts, we'll give you the 3rd this year, we'll give you a 2nd next year, a 3rd the year after that. Then the Vikings just say, cool, we'll do it too, and ours are 1 pick ahead, so take that. And so you have all these teams who can just match the offer if they want. So it's odds are what's going to happen is, I guess, most likely Chicago just makes the pick. Everything indicates that they're just going to take Caleb Williams and trade Justin Fields.
Does it indicate that? Like,
last we heard.
There's reports and stuff.
That was like the end of the season was basically what they were saying.
That's tough because I feel like Justin Fields has progressed this year.
He has.
And he's really looking like he can turn the corner. Like, Jordan Love didn't look good for a long time. And the second half of this season, he turned it around, and now in the playoffs, he's looking like the man. Like, sometimes that's another reason why I'm not sure to go get the first round. Sometimes they need time too.
And
I feel like Justin Fields has definitely hit his stride. So if they're willing to get rid of him, I'm interested in acquiring him.
Exactly. If you could trade like a 3rd for Fields, see that is something that you could get behind. Because you're not giving.
But you hate Fields.
And
he's gotten a lot better though. He has gotten a lot better.
And we'll have this conversation because this is certainly a conversation that I think that if the Bears are smart, they will trade Fields and draft Caleb Williams. But you know who else loves Justin Fields? Is that locker room. The locker room is rallying around him. The Bears locker room. So you rip him away and you bring in a guy that maybe has some different antics as a rookie. That could ruffle some feathers, I would have to imagine, Todd.
Yeah, it would. It'd be different. Guys, I don't know if guys would love it. But
I bet they would like it. If you go and getting like Caleb Williams, like that would fire everybody up.
But he's 6'1".
But I mean, it's Caleb. Like if they get Caleb Williams, everybody there's fired up about it. Like I don't think they're looking at saying
I think you understand that at some point. Just like if the coach for the Raiders was fired and not
if you
made
go
the
get
head
Belichick,
coach, but if you go get Belichick, like you're mad, but at the same time you're like, okay, maybe he can. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right,
what do we do? Yeah,
that's totally fair.
It was Jeremy Fowler who said, insiders believe they're taking Williams and trading Fields.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean that certainly makes sense. But Todd, and it does make, I totally see what you're saying about not mortgaging everything because you have to build a roster around this guy, especially a young quarterback. I totally get that. But I think this year's playoffs show a different perspective to that, and I want to get into that after I tell you about it. Illegal Pete's, where we love Illegal Pete's around here. And Henry, you said the Vikings can just match anything. Huh? Broncos have the Bears in Denver. Take them to Illegal Pete's. That's not something
Wow.
Minnesota can match. The
That's
queso,
true.
the margs, man, those margs. Give the Bears one marg, and they'll be willing to trade that number 1 pick for maybe even 2 first-round picks because their margs are so good at Illegal Pete's. And something that's underrated, not talked about enough at Illegal Pete's, they're fish tacos. I would not trust fish tacos from many places. But Illegal Pete's is like the best out there. You can even get them in a burrito. I think that's the way Ryan goes. I go them in the tacos. They are delicious. You got to check out our friends over at Illegal Pete's. They've got the best happy hour, and they just added a store in Wheat Ridge. Bring in Illegal Pete's out to the Foothills area. It's in Gold's Marketplace on the corner of 26th and Kipling, overlooking Crown Hill Park. So check them out. They're your go-to spot for lunch, for dinner. If you're coming in town, you got to check out Illegal Pete's.
Yep, and get some Breckenridge beers too. If you go to breckbrew.com, you can use the beer locator. You just put in your zip code and you click whatever box you want. It'll tell you where to get wherever you want to try. So whether it's the Strawberry Sky or the Avalanche. I was just going to see what the nearest Breckenridge beers are right here. There we go. Find. I guess it's probably just going to say right downstairs is going to be the answer. Yep.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And they can pick all these different things. They've got the Juice Drop, Vanilla Porter, Vanilla Sky. Oh, they actually redid this part of the website, so it's super nice. The hard seltzers, the Yerba Mate hard seltzers, which I've actually never tried.
Yerba Mate? Yerba Made?
Mate?
I
know
Yeah,
the
Yerba Mate.
Mate?
Yeah.
It's M-A-T-E
like an
is the
energy
word.
drink. Energy,
I'm
yeah.
American.
It's like South American.
He said, I'm American.
Yeah, like that word is mate. I know the word mate. The Imperial Agave Wheat Watermelon Lime. That's another new one. So go check them out. Like I said, use that beer locator. I'll tell you exactly where to go to get whatever you want to try.
Boom. Okay, so let's look at how teams that are still in the playoffs got their quarterback and see if this is something the Broncos should follow or not. So there's 8 teams left in the playoffs in the divisional round. 4 of these teams either have the number 1 pick in the draft as a quarterback. You're talking about the Bucs, Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall pick. The Lions, Jared Goff, number 1 overall pick. Or they traded up in order to get their quarterback. That would be the Kansas City Chiefs trading up for Patrick Mahomes. So there's 3 teams that have either traded up or used the number 1 pick or have the number
That's
1
the
pick
thing, yeah.
at quarterback.
Yeah.
Then you have the Bills, who used, the 7th overall pick in the draft on their quarterback, so a top 10 pick. And then you also have the Texans, who used the number 2 overall pick on their quarterback. And then the Packers used a first-round pick in the 20s on a quarterback. But 5 of these teams either traded up or used a top 2 pick in the draft on their quarterback. Then you have another first-round pick. And then, of course, the 2 teams that aren't falling in this sort of mold of prioritizing the quarterback an extreme amount. Actually, you can throw the Ravens in there, too, because they did trade up for their quarterback. They went to the final pick of the first round to get Lamar Jackson. So the only team that doesn't have a massive investment in their quarterback or a high pick in their quarterback is the 49ers.
Yeah, but the twist is obviously that the 2 first overall picks are not with their original team.
It's true.
Those teams did not invest much in their quarterbacks. They were able to get them for cheap after, that's actually really interesting.
It is.
It makes you think, like, what do? You trade for Kyler Murray now?
He's,
That's what that
if you
says.
think 6'1" is short, Henry, you're going to think
I mean,
Kyler
if,
is...
If we're saying going and getting a former first overall pick is what you do, but Kyler Murray?
Nah,
I
I'm
don't
good.
know.
The Broncos just simply can't do that if they're moving on from Russ. So that does throw a caveat in here.
That is interesting, though, that teams that spent the first overall pick are not in it. Trevor Lawrence isn't there. Joe Burrow isn't there. Kyler Murray isn't there. Before that, everybody else is on a new team. Stafford, I guess, is no longer there. So I mean,
But I mean the talent
Yeah.
of quarterback. A number 1 pick or a first round pick or someone you traded up for, it's what? 7 of these 8 teams that are here. 7 of the 8 teams are here.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
do you think that these teams can have sustained success too? The Texans,
Yes.
the Ravens,
Yes.
the Packers,
Yes.
the 49ers don't count. The Bucks.
No.
Okay, I agree with you. So 3 out of 4 right now. I guess 3 out of 5 because we'll throw the 49ers in there. The Lions.
Yes.
I agree. The Chiefs
Yes.
and the Bills.
Yes.
I agree. I mean, that's sustained success because they have their guy at quarterback. Now, some of these teams have unreal teams around them. The Ravens, the number 1 defense in the NFL. They've added really good pieces around Lamar Jackson as well. The Chiefs, I mean, they have a good defense, but the talent around Mahomes on offense is not there.
I think the talent. I think you think of Pacheco. I think they have a good running back group. I think their O-line's pretty solid. I think the tight end is still the best in the NFL.
They just don't have receivers.
They're lacking in receivers. They have receivers. They just drop the ball.
That's not having
He just
receivers.
dropped the ball.
That's like
Good
saying
job.
I have a car,
That's
I just
number
don't
one.
have wheels. They're just flat all the time.
Yeah.
No, so I think, and then you talk about Chris Jones. You talk about their defense. They definitely have a great defense. So there's pieces there, but nevertheless, I think keep going.
And so to me, that's sustained success. And if you do trade a ton to go get the number 1 overall pick, which I don't think is going to happen because I do think the Bears decide to just take Caleb. But this is the I guess the easiest path, and
Yeah.
maybe you shouldn't always take the easiest path.
I go the other
but
way,
I
though,
do
because
think
those
this is
teams-
the easiest path to have success in 2 years and then also in 10 years. And then you look I try to look at teams that aren't on this list of who will probably be in the running. The number 1 team that jumps out to me is the Bengals, and they're not in the running this year because Joe Burrow got hurt, and they have the number 1 pick. They have that number 1 quarterback. And so to me, it's just, you look at maybe Trevor Lawrence. Now, he's been a disappointment of what he's been able to do, and you see how much that would hurt you if he's more of a Trevor Lawrence than a Joe Burrow or a Patrick Mahomes. So there's certainly a risk there.
I see this very differently though.
Really?
Like I see number 1 overall pick does not work. Like that's the teams that drafted them, it did not work for them. Like the last team that used a number 1 overall pick on quarterback that's currently in the playoffs is the Bucs when they drafted Jameis in 2015. And I don't know if that's a great indicator. like to me, like that, I see the exact opposite is that number 1 overall pick doesn't work. Not for the team at least, maybe for the player later on, but
I think that
it's also a small sample
trading
size.
up. I think that shows more that trading up works.
And actually,
And I'm okay with trading up. I just don't think we have to trade all the way up.
so
And I think there's, like we talked about, there's other guys
Yep.
in the draft that are going to allow teams to have sustained success.
Yep. And I agree with you. I don't think that it's Caleb Williams or bust, but maybe trading up to 6 and giving up 1 future first-round pick, or trading up to 9 and
Yep.
giving up an additional second-round pick to go get the 3rd quarterback in the draft, who Sean has identified. Maybe he realizes, like, yeah, Caleb's my 1, but there's this other guy that is my 1B, and I love him. And if he's still there, then you do go and make that move, just like the Chiefs did. The Chiefs
Yep.
didn't go from, where were they, 22 or something? They didn't go from 22 to 1 to get Mahomes. They went from 22 to 10, gave up 1 future first-round pick to get Mahomes. The Ravens did that as well. They got the 5th quarterback taken in that draft. And so and I'm happy that you said that, Todd, because it's not all about Caleb or bust. There's, 5, 6 potential first-round quarterbacks here? It's identifying the right one. Maybe trading up is the way to go.
Yeah.
And like the economics of trading up are super weird because whenever you trade up, like if you were to go through and say like, what are players worth? Like the first overall pick, what is that player worth on average? Number 2 pick, all the way down through the draft. When you trade up, you lose value. Like you lose value to pay to move up. But an individual players, so if you were to players who are traded up for, there's a 7.7% boost to their AV over their first 3 years. And I think it's like a 5.5% boost to average games started.
Wait, you've lost me.
So if you were to trade up for players, so like your average 26th overall pick might have like on average they start 10 games.
Okay.
If you were to look at a 26th overall pick, that you trade up for, on average, there's a 5.5% boost to games started, which in that case is only worth like one game. So like you lose value by trading up. But when teams do trade up to draft somebody, that player does work out better than the players around them in the draft. Because like in theory, because you realize that that's like a player who's a great value at this point and goes up. So the economics do say like trading up is a good thing.
You just have to pay extra to do it.
Yeah, and so it kind of comes out as a wash, but it works out well for both sides because like the team trading down is like, well, we're getting more value in return for what we get here on average. And a team trading up, when you trade up for somebody, that player is far more likely to succeed. It's very strange.
Or is it, I'm sure there's some of that to it, but could it also be like, well, shit, we just invested so much in this guy. We're going to give him that much extra time
definitely
to work out.
But that's why you bring in the AV too. So then it factors in like stats and like efficiency and those sorts of things. And that actually gets boosted more than just like number of starts.
AV, what do you mean?
That's, what is that? Approximate value.
Okay.
It's like an older stat. It's like 90 stat. It's like the Pro Football Reference. That's what they do all of their like big picture stuff by is AV.
You following?
I'm here.
So it's good to trade up.
Yeah.
So would you guys give an additional first-round pick, one first-round pick, to move to 6 for a quarterback?
Yeah.
See, my thing isn't so much about where you move to. It's about who you're getting, you know? Because like if you're trading a first to get up to 3rd to draft Penix versus up to 11 to draft Penix, it doesn't really matter. You get Penix either way, you know?
Okay, so then just view it like that. Would you give an additional first to go get a quarterback this year?
I think I would for Caleb Williams. I think one first.
Not Caleb.
Yeah.
Not
So
Caleb.
It's going to cost more to get
Yeah.
Caleb.
It definitely would. I would for him.
Anybody
I would for
else?
Jayden Daniels.
Penix.
Penix and Drake Maye are right on that line. Like it would be tough for me.
This is crazy to me because you saw one game from Penix that you didn't like, and you were totally off of him. But yet, you've gone back and looked at Caleb Williams' film and saw multiple games, and you've said that you weren't impressed by more than one game, but you still hold him here, and then Penix is still dropped to the bottom of your list.
I'm going through I will watch all of Michael Penix, and I'll feel way stronger. I've seen like 4 Michael Penix Jr. games. Even that last one, he wasn't that bad. Like there were a couple throws, especially in garbage time, that he missed. But like he wasn't that bad. He just didn't get protected and receive it. Like it wasn't really his fault. But I do think that there's just like, I don't know, like some of the stats about throwing over the middle aren't all that great. And I don't have them off the top of my head. I think like the Athletic NFL podcast guys did some of that stuff where it's like somehow it was like insanely low attempts, insanely low completions. But again, that's kind of what we knew. Like that's why I've always thought like kind of that Derek Carr,
4,500 yards thrown on the outside, and
I mean, yes, but you have like the great receivers. You got the old guys
like
open.
You have to be like, if he wants to throw to the outside, then we're just going to make plays that allow him to throw to the outside. Doesn't mean that he's just terrible now.
But I mean, it's also like Sean Payton, like he likes to throw the ball with middle. It's like what do they call slant god, Michael Thomas.
Those are outside routes.
I'm not against Michael Penix at all. I'm just not sure I need to be trading an extra first to go get him. And like I said, like by end of the week, I'm done with Caleb Williams. Then probably Drake Maye next week, and then we'll get through Daniels. Eventually, in like a month, I'm gonna have really good, smart opinions. With Penix, though, it's like the highlights are awesome. I don't know that he's a perfect quarterback. Like, you look at him in the pocket, and it's like he's kind of getting all day. And when he gets all day, things go well. When things break down, it hasn't always gone so great. Like, there's pros and cons.
All right, this is my last thing.
Okay, yeah.
We watched a lot of Broncos film over this year.
Oh, yeah, we have.
Can you tell me one, out of all the touchdowns and all the great plays that Russell Wilson has, can you tell me one play that was great over the middle?
He completed 18 passes over the middle.
The whole year?
Whole year, yeah.
And still was 26-8, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with you, Todd. But on the flip side, Sean thought that was trash enough to bench him.
No, I know that, but I feel like Penix's production outside of the numbers, even in college, is way better than Russell Wilson's is.
Yeah.
So Russell can go 26-8 and not use the middle of the field. I feel like Penix can do even better and not have to just use the middle of the field.
It's fair. And also, Russ is 35 years old. He probably is maxed out at what he can do and how much you can teach him. Maybe he can learn a couple of things, but is he really going to be able to just all of a sudden go from 20 years of not throwing in the middle of the field or, 13 in the NFL to now all of a sudden dominating in the middle of the field? Probably not. But could a rookie, a 24-year-old that hasn't played in the NFL yet, develop into throwing in the middle of the field? With a guy like Sean Payton, I'm sure Sean thinks he could help him with that.
For sure.
So really, what all of this boils down to in the end isn't what, unfortunately, Todd, isn't what you think of Michael Penix. It's not what Henry thinks of Caleb Williams' height.
Yep.
It's what Sean Payton thinks.
He's not perfect. I thought he was. Remember last year I was saying he's better than Mahomes. I take him for the next decade over Mahomes. I'm off that train.
That's because, dude, you can't even choose NFL games, and you watch this league.
That's not how it works. Like you don't just like. That's not how it works. They go play the game. All I can tell you is that Joe Flacco's playing a lot better than C.J. Stroud. I can't tell you if that's going to change or not.
Oh my God!
Like that's just the truth.
It definitely changed.
You still think that?
I mean, the last like 5 weeks of the season, yeah.
It
yeah, it
changed.
did change.
Yeah,
and that changes why I was wrong. But all I can say is that up to that point, that's what was happening.
Oh man,
I'm not here to tell you the future.
Small sample size.
I don't have a time machine here. All I can do is just tell you what's happening.
Henry sees every game, one game at a time. Nothing else before it or after it matters. It's one game at a time.
So we've talked a lot about Michael Penix because he's been almost winning national championships. Talked a little bit about J.J. McCarthy. Talked about Caleb Williams, obviously. We're going to talk about Bo Nix. We're going to talk about Drake Maye. We're going to talk about a lot of these guys more in depth. But one thing that I want to do now is get into our Bet365 top 5. And we've done rankings in the past of how, as a group, we view these guys. But what matters is how Sean Payton views them. And Jayden Daniels, and I think this is a very interesting conversation because I think that Sean just isn't very interested in Jayden Daniels. And I want to see if you guys agree on where Sean would be because Jayden Daniels maybe isn't the best quarterback in this draft. But if there's any Lamar Jackson 2.0, he is it since Lamar entered the league. And to that's so exciting to potentially get. And like, that's a guy that would just electrify Broncos country. But to me, I think he might be like not even on this top 5 list in Sean Payton's eyes. So I want to get to that as a group. Number one, in Sean Payton's mind, do we think it's Caleb?
Yeah, it's Caleb.
Yeah, because of how he talked about him when he was on air. Yeah, I could say that.
We got that little bit of insight from him.
Soundbite.
I agree. I think that it is Caleb Williams, number one. Number 2?
I think it's Jayden Daniels.
Oh.
I think you're crazy for not thinking that Sean would like.
Whoa.
I think that lost in his legs is the fact that he was the most efficient passer in the country. Like 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, like all the completion percentage, all that sort of stuff. Like he is not just a runner. That's just like a bonus on top of it. And I think that Sean would even like that too.
How much of that stuff happens outside of the pocket? The throwing, do you know?
I couldn't tell you exactly.
Really don't know.
Yeah, but I would say most. Well, again, like so, I started watching him obviously my first year covering CU when he was a freshman at Arizona State and had like 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And at that point, it was a lot of pocket stuff. Like it was a lot of like break from the pocket and go up. It wasn't like bootleg, rollout type stuff. But I'm curious to go back and look. I do think it's Jayden Daniels here.
How big is Jayden Daniels?
He's skinny. I would have thought I would have thought 6'3", but.
Because honestly,
I thought Lamar was too. I think they're the same size.
I would probably go with like the national ranking here for number 2. I'd probably go Drake Maye. Would be Sean's next guy. I mean, he has all of the tools you want as a pocket passer.
They have him listed 6'4".
Jayden Daniels?
Yeah.
6'4", like 180?
210.
210?
He was really small. So, like, freshman year Jayden Daniels, he was listed 175. Again, you can't trust any of this. He's going to come out 6'3". And, like, to me, he's the same size as Lamar. Like, when I look at him.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's 210. But I would probably go like Drake Maye, too.
Yeah.
I think he's looking for a quarterback, a true quarterback. And if there's a guy that's a runner, we could put together packages for him, Taysom Hill, bring him in when it's time to run with the quarterback. But other than that, I have a quarterback who's going to run my offense. So I think he's looking for a true quarterback in this draft.
That's what I would think, too. So for number 2, since it's a 2v1 here, we're going to go Drake Maye. Honestly, number 3, viewing this through Sean Payton's eyes and a guy we will talk more about because he's probably a realistic option at 12, I go Bo Nix. I think there are a lot of a lot of people like to make the easy comparisons, and a lot of people are saying he could be Sean Payton's next Drew Brees in terms of being able to win from the pocket. He doesn't have as strong of an arm as Drake Maye. Drew Brees wasn't known for like the strongest arm ever. Bo Nix doesn't have all of the physical tools like a Drake Maye does. Drew Brees didn't either.
Yep.
So I would probably honestly go Bo Nix, but I hope I'm wrong a little bit because I'd love to see a Jayden Daniels up there. Even a Michael Penix too.
Yeah. I don't feel like Bo Nix has the intangibles that Sean's looking for. I don't feel like he has it all together yet. Maybe he, gains that through some years in the league. I just feel like Sean needs more of a finished product right now to try and come in here and be the starter.
Yeah, that's fair. Especially if you're using a first-round pick. I don't think Sean's waiting. I don't think Sean's
Exactly.
developing this guy.
Exactly.
Henry, where would you go?
Jayden Daniels.
You go Jayden Daniels at 3.
Oh, I would have gone 2.
For Sean?
Yeah.
Where would you go? Todd?
I think a pure pocket passer with the accuracy and the touch, I think it's Michael Penix. I always feel like I'm bringing him up,
Yep.
and I feel like I want to stop just because I don't want to just feel like I'm just so one-sided. But
You got Penix on your mind.
Wow.
Okay. Thanks, yeah.
What's his size?
but
Oh, boy.
not even going there. I'm not doing it.
Oh, boy.
That's crazy.
What, 6'4", 220 or something like that? What were you guys thinking I was saying?
I don't even know.
So
but just his accuracy and his ability and his touch, like, we can not talk about the championship game, but the game before that, like the positions he was putting the football in, it felt like Drew Brees. Like, just put it right where it needs to be every single time.
Yep.
And just the ability to do that as a quarterback in the NFL, I think it's a lost art. I think you have some guys that could do that, but I think a lot of these wide receivers are now making spectacular catches, and it's kind of giving the quarterbacks more room for error. But a guy that can really just put the ball on you in stride, and you don't even have to do anything but put your hands up, I think that's a lost art in the NFL.
So if I'm breaking the tie between you two, I would go Michael Penix for number 3 here in Sean's eyes. And again, I hope I'm wrong with Jayden Daniels, but Sean just got a quarterback that can do a lot outside of the pocket, and he hated that. He really did not like it. Now,
Could he do a lot outside the pocket?
Hank's a tough critic.
26
I mean, I'm
touchdowns,
just saying-
8 interceptions. Like,
I'm just
saying.
he did.
But he's not like fast or anything.
He has the 3rd most rushing yards in NFL history from a quarterback. So,
History.
he could do
History.
things outside of
He
the
could.
pocket.
Not last year.
Last year he was a lot more mobile than the year before.
Okay.
And I think what we saw was Sean said, I have to have a guy win in the pocket 1, 2, 3, and then he can take off and run. And I just think that whether it's right or not, that Sean's just going to be just a little shell-shocked from that last year and kind of push against that even more. And because I do think Jayden can win from the pocket, for sure. I just think Sean's going to be extra concerned about having like a dual threat instead of winning from the pocket number 1, then something else. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, if Sean is scared off of a dual threat quarterback because Russell Wilson didn't work, I mean, come on, like Russell Wilson is not a dual threat quarterback anymore. Like, he's not fast. Like, if you're not taking Jayden Daniels because Russell Wilson couldn't make it, like, it just doesn't. They're not. Russell Wilson isn't a runner anymore.
Quick question: is Jameis Winston considered a pocket quarterback?
Yes. Big time.
Not a runner.
No.
That
Yep.
much.
No.
What
Yep.
about the tight end that he made into a
Taysom
quarterback?
Hill?
That's
Taysom
different.
Hill.
Yeah, and he was
kind of-
never
yeah.
really a true. They never went into the season with him being the starting quarterback.
No. He's just more of a wildcat quarterback.
Yeah.
Could throw it if you need him to, but he was there to run the ball.
Man, I have no idea what's going to happen with Jalen Milroe in terms of his draft stock and stuff, but I could see Sean loving him in 2 years in the draft. Let's say he's not a first-round pick. He might be the first overall pick in the draft next year, and this is just a silly conversation, but if he falls to the second round, like Jalen Hurts did, I could see Sean absolutely loving him as the ultimate Taysom Hill. But that's something for later. Where would you guys go for? Would you put Jayden Daniels here? How do you feel, Todd, about Sean viewing Jayden Daniels?
I think he has to be 4 just because he is a dynamic player. So I think he has to be high on Sean's list of guys. And so I feel like 5 would be too low for him just because of what he is able to do and his athletic ability. So we got to put him at least at 4.
Good. I hope so, and I hope he is on Sean's board. And then 5, I would go Bo Nix here. Jayden Daniels.
Yeah.
I'd go Bo Nix here. JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix, one of those two probably.
Yeah.
A lot of people saying Pratt potentially, but I don't think he's like in Sean's top 5.
Yeah. I mean, Pratt's on the thing right now where it's like 3 days ago nobody knew who he was, and then now it's like, oh, he's awesome, and so then like somebody else sees on Twitter and like goes to YouTube and is like, oh, he's awesome, and so like who knows, he might wind up in the top 5 because it is like that's how draft season works, is guys like go up and down, but like I still don't know much about him.
Fair. So Bo or JJ?
Bo.
All right, there we go. Bo Nix. There's our top 5 Bet365 quarterbacks that we think the order Sean would have them. And before we get out of here, let's hit some super chats because we got some coming in. And before we get to those, hit us with a thumbs up. It really helps us on YouTube. It's free, helps us a lot as well. All right, let's jump into these super chats. First one coming in from Nick says,
That's a fun one.
How many times have you guys cried in your mom's arms since you were 15 for a reason that wasn't a family loss?
That's a Caleb Williams comment.
Zero.
I mean, okay.
0.
Yeah, also true. But you have
Yep.
not Jayden Daniels. Michael Penix was also crying walking off the field.
By himself. As
By
a
himself?
man.
Okay. That's different.
Grown man.
Okay.
Did
That is fair.
What do you guys think about crying? And
What do you-
in surrounding the sport of football, whether you're a player or a fan.
I think I'm the wrong person to ask because I don't cry about
Yeah.
anything.
Okay.
Even like, family losses are sad, but I'm not a crier.
Fair.
Like I just get really sad, I get really quiet,
Fair.
and like I don't think I've ever like cried like
Yeah,
that. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Of course, as a young kid or something.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm not a crier, so I don't
Yeah.
really understand crying.
So like I watched the Lions game with my parents this past weekend, and right when the Lions win, they show the fan in the stands crying, and my dad's like, "Oh, give me!" And my dad's a diehard Broncos fan. He's like,
Yeah.
"Give me a break! Don't the crying. This is ridiculous." And my mom's like, "No, it's sweet." And it just I was like, "Huh? I wonder how other people feel about that."
Yeah, like my thing is like if I was the Broncos quarterback and I started crying in front of, let's just say Quinn. Just say like Quinn Myers looks over and sees me just like crying. It just when things would change, like I'm not. It's not like right or wrong to cry. It's just that like you wind up in those situations, and there's grown men, and they're very tough grown men on top of that. Like it's a tough fit. Criers in NFL locker rooms are just a tough fit more than anything.
What if you saw Quinn crying and you're his quarterback?
I'll be like, wait, what? What is happening here? Like, wait, whoa, what's happening?
Yeah, it's just my opinion, but I just
Yeah.
feel like certain positions, like you can't cry no matter what's going on. Like president,
Exactly.
no matter what, you
That's-
can't cry.
that's fair.
Like,
The president comes out. If the
general,
president- yeah.
general in the army, like we're not crying. Like that's not
Bad things are happening if the general's crying.
even if a pilot on an
point.
airplane, if a pilot came on
Exactly.
sobbing, like
Oh gosh, could you imagine?
you're
Oh
distraught.
god,
It's
that'd be
over.
terrible.
So our coach and quarterback can't cry?
I think
Anyone else?
Left tackle.
Okay, but winning the Super Bowl, I think, is okay. I
Okay,
think
out
happy
of joy.
tears, joy tears are okay.
Okay.
I think sad tears, maybe not.
Okay, fair. I'm going to take your word for that, Todd. You know a thing or two about being in that locker room. And last one coming in from Christopher Scott says, do you see the Broncos trading a late round pick for a quarterback like Mac Jones or Zach Wilson? I'd rather have that and build talent in the draft than draft a quarterback. Great question. A big conversation that we definitely need to have. But those are two guys. Would you guys be interested in one of those guys?
No, I don't.
That's
I don't have the time for it. I'm ready to win now. We've been through enough as a team and an organization. Like it's time to win. I don't want
Yeah.
to be developing for another 2 or 3 years.
My thing is, I
That's
don't
my
know
thought
how you
process.
win now. Otherwise, I'd be right there with you. And so, like, am I going to get excited if they trade for Zach Wilson? Of course not. I'm going to get on here. I'm going to say, wait, you're getting Zach Wilson? That guy was terrible. Like, he had, like, the 2 good games this season. Everybody's like, oh, actually, maybe. And it's like, no, it turned out to be terrible. Mac Jones, similar, not as bad, but, like, If you decide that you just want to get a good player in the first round and it's Stidham versus Mac Jones versus DiNucci, who I think has as good a chance as Stidham at this point, like, go right ahead. Punt a year.
Fair. So to answer his question, or to phrase it in a different way, would you, same price, both going to cost you a 6th round pick, you passed on a quarterback in the first, you don't have a 2nd round pick, are you trading a 6th round pick for Mac Jones or Zach Wilson?
No.
No, it's one of those. You have to do one. Nope. That's like, nope, I'm going a Wildcat all season.
Man, this is tough because I feel like both guys have gotten like ample opportunities to
They really have.
a shot to be that guy in the NFL, and it didn't work out for either of them. Maybe Mac Jones. I feel like both of them are kind of like in the same position right now.
Could you imagine if Sean at the press conference is like, we had no choice. Like we just had to go with Mac.
Yeah, I would go Mac just because like the limitations line up better with the Broncos.
The limitations of like his play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
interesting.
his limitations.
Wow.
It's like he'll stand in the pocket for you. Like he'll do that. Like it's
Certainly
probably
will.
not going to go great, but like he'll do it.
Yeah, I
Zach
go Mac
Wilson
too.
not so much.
Yeah.
Yep, Zach as in me for Mac.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Zach for Mac.
This has been a fun conversation. We're out. We're gonna be back tomorrow. Talking about. We've got so many things to talk about. So stay tuned. 11 a.m. tomorrow. Hit us with a thumbs up on the way out. Thank you all so much for rolling with us. Have a terrific Tuesday.
We all silly like the mayor.